Welcome to Jimmy and the Wolf podcast.
I wasn't ready for it, man. I went straight kung fu movies as soon as I heard that, man. I reverted back to my childhood.
This is something I got in... I used to travel to Asia a lot. I think I got this... Well, this is for Japanese, yeah. I got it from Japan.
I love it, man.
You know? Anyway, today I got a subject that I took off of Facebook today. And Chris Wallen is a hit songwriter in Nashville. He wrote Don't Blink. He's written a lot of number ones.
That's a great song.
Don't Blink. Gosh, it's escaping me some of the big ones that he's written. He's written for the big guys. When Garth came back after his sabbatical of 10 years, whatever, his very first single was a Chris Wallen song. So Chris is very successful. Anyway, and he's married to. I can't say I'm a bosom buddy of Chris. He may probably not recognize me on the street, but we are Facebook friends. We're Facebook friends, but he probably wouldn't recognize me.
I'm your friend on Facebook. We're getting an apartment together.
But he's married to a woman from my small little town of South Dakota.
Wow.
And I know his family well. And in fact, I used to play with her brothers and sisters. They're all musical. She plays bass herself. Anyway, he posted today, and he just asking for other musicians for reference for CDs and packaging in Nashville. Just found out mine isn't in Nashville anymore. So he's looking for a supplier for CDs. And it's just interesting what some of the comments were. And I want to talk about the CDs. So, and the people give different references. We make tapes and CDs in Midtown. We're going to have them sponsor the podcast. Kunaki, some other ones. And then you get SG Nashville. And then you get down here and somebody goes, you always got a real smart person. Man, you are so 90s, And
because he's making CDs?
Because he's making CDs.
CDs still sell, man.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Here's this guy says, CDs, do you get a pet dinosaur with every order?
A Betamax. It comes with the complimentary Betamax and a free Trapper Keeper.
And then his other guy goes, I'm all about 8-track tapes.
Wow.
CDs, they don't put them in cars anymore, man.
No, they don't. But
and a lot of people may not even have them in their play. Oh, where are you going to play them if you're going to try to sell them?
Well, so the thing about CDs, and them being antiquated, there's a lot of people that, sure, they don't put them in cars. They don't put CD players in cars. And sure, young people probably don't buy CDs. But there's a lot of older people that do. There's a lot of people my age and older that still... I buy CDs. And I'm 42. I buy them usually at gas stations when I'm waiting in line. I'll see something for $3.99 and be like, oh, yeah. Yeah, Dwight Yoakam's 20 Greatest Hits or something. I think that actually was the last CD that I bought, and it was in a gas station somewhere in Kentucky. It was Dwight Yoakam's Greatest Hits. But a lot of people don't do the digital thing. A lot of people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, it's funny. It's like I had this realization the last time that I played music at a nursing home. And this was a nursing home full of people in their 80s. And the mindset going into it for me was like, what am I going to play that these people are going to like? What kind of music do I know that they're going to enjoy? And I'm thinking I'm going to show up and they're going to be like, hey, play, Sinatra song after Sinatra song after Sinatra song. And it became quickly apparent to me that was the generation that had the best stuff, because when I get there, they're like, do you know any Pink Floyd? Like that kind of stuff. I'm like, what? It's like people that age listen to Pink Floyd? And then I start kind of doing the math, and I'm like, well, of course they do. Because, like, now older people have that generation was the generation that made that music, so to speak. But I'm getting off topic. Coming back to it, there's a lot of people that still just don't want to mess with the digital format only because it's so confusing to them. A lot of people that aren't proficient with computers, they don't know how Pandora works. I've got buddies that don't know how to sync up Bluetooth to their cars, that have Bluetooth compatibility in their cars, and they don't know how to get their phone hooked up to their car to listen to Pandora or iTunes, or they get frustrated after pushing a couple buttons and say, forget about it, man, I'm going to listen to a CD.
Yeah, now I'm on Chris Greenwood Manifest coaching program. Great guy, great coaching, and he recommends still doing CDs. You know? Chris is probably in his mid-30s, I'm going to guess. Hard to tell, but he's been, or maybe older, because he's been doing it for a long time. He might be in early 40s. I'm not sure, but only because of I think he says he's been doing it for 20 years. So, but he doesn't look that old. Anyway, I believe he recommends still doing CDs. It's just, to me, just getting started. I don't have a CD. You've got 7, or is it 8? 7.
Working on the 8th one.
Working on the 8th one. And I have only released songs to streaming, and I don't have any physical CD product. And I'm not really thinking about dedicating the resources, not so much money, but time. You got to get your album jackets. You got to get your songs together.
Sure.
And the modern model today, like a Drake or current artists, you drop a song every month or every 6 weeks.
Sure. Yeah, the model itself has changed. I mean, to release an album, it's like, what does that even mean anymore? Is that 8 songs? Is that 10 songs? And a lot of the country guys do the 6-packs. They'll release 6 songs.
But on the other hand, I mean, the Billboard 200, which is the album chart, is still important. I mean, Post Malone, who's about as modern as you possibly can be, and his age is like 21 or 2, not sure how old he is, he dropped an album. I mean, he drops albums, Beer Bongs and Bentleys, and that was his other one. Now he came up with a new one. I can't remember the name of it is. It's much more melodic. I love it. He's doing albums. I wonder if he sells CDs. That'd be interesting. I mean, he drops an album, but is it just a streaming album?
No, he's surely, like, if you walk into Walmart and look for a Post Malone CD, surely there's...
You think? Yeah, but Walmart's really cutting back on the stuff they carry. They might be aimed more, what the stuff they carry might be aimed more at that older generation, and the older generation ain't buying Post Malone, I don't think.
Well...
Interesting, though.
Some of them might be, because they might think he's their age. He doesn't look 21.
All those tattoos all over his face.
He looks like a 49-year-old biker that's been on a crack bench for the last 32 years. I didn't know he was 21. I just assumed he was way older than that.
I guarantee he's under 25.
Really?
Under 25. I'm going to guess 22. I'm going to guess 22.
He does, man. I've seen dudes who look like him at like some of these gigs I've done for motorcycle gangs and stuff. He's like the supplier. He's got the little guy that hangs out with the big bikers.
Oh my gosh. We're not going to have any Post Malone fans.
That's Speedy. That's our buddy Speedy.
If we have any fans that are Post Malone fans, we just lost them. They're clicking off right now and never coming back.
That'd be all right.
That'd be all right.
He probably knows that. I'm sure he's aware.
He's got tattooed under his eyes, always tired.
Really?
That's tattooed under his eyes.
Yeah.
Always under one eye, then tired under the other one.
Well, that's what happens, man.
He's a genius. I mean, I use him as him and Lil Nas X, who I don't even know his real name. Well, Post Malone isn't his real name either. He took that from a meme generator. The Malone is from Moses Malone because he's an NBA basketball fan. And the Post, I can't remember where the Post came from. I read about it. But both of these guys had never. They're not like you. You've got the live game. You're the old school guy. Build them one at a time. Have them come to your live show. Lil Nas X had never performed in front of anyone until he performed at an award show where he was winning an award.
Right.
And that's something.
Well, the models changed so much. They used to be impossible.
And I think pretty sure Post Malone's the same way because we saw my nephews and I saw Post Malone at Bonnaroo. He was a headliner at the big stage. So he was that one of the 3 nights. He was one of the 3 biggest acts at Bonnaroo 2019. And my nephew Seth, huge Post Malone fan, and he pushed his way all the way to the front. He left us 2 or 3 hours before the concert to get his way all the way to the front and get to the front. And Post Malone really doesn't have much of a live game. I think I told you this before.
Well,
he
of
doesn't have
course
much of a
not.
live
He's
game.
21 or however old he is, and he probably hasn't.
He basically what happened was, based on my analysis, his songs played, and he didn't even bother to mix out and make like a TV track. They call it a TV track where you mix out everything except the lead vocal. It's called a TV track. And he didn't even bother to have a TV track. His normal vocals, and it wasn't even, okay, I'm going to leave my vocals on, but I'm going to at least lower them a few dB. Didn't even do that based on my
Like
my
the
analysis.
actual lead vocal parts were coming out pre-recorded? Are you kidding me?
And he's singing over the top or sometimes ad-libbing.
Wow.
And at the end of every song, he'd go, "Up and thank you very much," swearing.
That's discouraging because it makes you wonder if younger people even care about the quality of live music.
Well, my nephew was so pissed off that he literally left. This is a guy he loves, and he had waited in line for hours to get up to the front. And the concert was half over, and he said, "Enough with this." There's another guy playing that on the other stage that he wanted to get to the front, and he left. Because that's not the final. They have the big show, and then even after the big show, there's other minor shows that go on later till like 2 a.m. But Post Malone was the major show. And so Seth went to, there was a comedy rapper, I can't remember the name, but they do comedy rapping, and he wanted to go see them on one of the minor stages. And so he went over there and left Post Malone halfway through because he was so disappointed in the live showing. So, and he's a millennial, and he didn't like that show. So he appreciates what a real show is.
Yeah. I can imagine, singing with your lead vocals being piped through the PA already. Like, what are you even doing?
Right. What are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing? I hope he's gotten better. Because he's doing lots of live shows. He's touring a lot. But, it's just like everything else. You build up the hours. You did 10,000 hours.
Maybe it's day to day. Maybe, like, on day one when he's still pretty fresh and he's on day one of a hardcore drug binge, they, like, barely have the vocals pumping. I'm kidding. He spilled his coffee on.
Are you that convinced that he's...
No,
he can't
I'm
produce
not.
that kind of music
I'm
and
not.
be a drug
I'm not at all.
addict?
I really enjoy his stuff because he has, like...
Especially
I
his last
listen to
album.
a lot of pop because my kids are always, whenever we're in the car, they want to listen to the pop station. And I really do enjoy his stuff because he has, from my mind, lots of melodic content to his music.
Especially this last album is more
Which I
melodic.
enjoy.
More melodic.
I really do enjoy him as an artist.
He almost sings more than he raps. And I really like that. I'm not a huge rap fan.
Yeah, rap
honestly.
to me is like heavy metal. It's like there's a lot of bad rap and there's a lot of bad metal. But the great rap and the great metal to me is like as good as it gets. There's a lot of bad rap out there, especially now. Some of it I hear and it's just like, what? I don't even get it. And it's the same way with metal. Metal's gotten so heavy that I don't even know what's what anymore. But great metal, like the bands that I really love, like I love Motorhead and Megadeth and stuff like that. The early Metallica stuff. It's what I consider to be metal. Pantera. Rap, I love the band Cypress Hill. I always love the Notorious B.I.G. and Outkast. But it's like there's not a whole lot of middle of the road, it seems like, with rap or hip-hop. To me, it's like a light switch. I either love it or it's like, please turn that off. You know what I mean? Not a lot of middle ground. Like I can turn on a country station or classic rock station or whatever and be like, yeah, it's all right. Or even classical music. Yeah, it's all right. It's unobtrusive. But it's not that way with hip-hop to me at all. It's like I'm either all in or all the way out. It's either great or nothing. But it's interesting because that influences... It's everywhere in pop now. And it's interesting to hear how the trends go. I noticed about 2 or 3 years ago that thing started where the calypso rhythm was in so many pop songs. Almost every pop song I heard come out on the radio would have that. And they do trends just like the country industry does. Pop absolutely does that.
I'd say the half-life of a pop trend is substantially shorter than the half-life of a country trend.
Yeah, I would think.
I mean, pop changes.
But what's going on now with it is pretty cool, and I don't know the names of any of the artists. I just hear it like being in the car with the kids. But there's this amazing Latin infusion in pop right now.
Oh, 100%.
So
yeah,
good.
absolutely. I'd agree with that.
Good.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I don't want to insult anybody saying this, but it's almost like the pop artist all bought a Buena Vista Social Club album and listened to some great like Afro-Cuban music, and now they're implementing it into. I like where it's at right now, probably.
Well,
more than where it's been for a long time.
It's at the top. I mean, last year, Despacito was the #1 song.
Yeah, the song's great.
It was just a monstrous hit. Half of it was in Spanish, right?
Right.
I think the original single was all in Spanish, and then they got Justin Bieber to come on and do a couple verses or choruses or whatever parts he did, and he sings in English, of course. Huge song. And then Camila Cabello, I think is how you pronounce it, with her Havana. And I read an article in Billboard about how, she's only 20 or 21 now, maybe, quite young. And labels tend to boss around, especially, unfortunately, I've heard women to get signed to labels, especially, they get bossed around a lot. And historically, it's probably getting better now, thankfully. Anyway, and the label wanted to tell her what to do, and she wanted to put out Havana, na.
Yeah.
That it's got that.
It's a great tune.
Yeah, they wanted to, I guess, more middle of the road it. And she stood up for that and said, no, this is what we're doing.
Good.
And it broke her out. I mean, that was a huge hit for her, And she performed it at the Grammys, I remember, in this year. And her future's just in front of her, really.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, that insurgence of Latin music into pop has been a welcome thing.
Absolutely. Well, those are two examples of specific Latin songs. But even the influence, I feel, like you're saying, is more. So what, plug for us, what we do recently around that Calypso part?
Oh, yeah, the Calypso Queen too?
Calypso Queen. We got a song
Absolutely.
that we wrote that is, we haven't demoed it yet, but...
Lots of chords.
It's going to be a cool song.
Lots of cool changes.
Yeah. So...
That's maybe the result of some of the... rides to the soccer field for Marshall soccer practice and hearing those songs on pop radio. You never know how something influences you.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Whenever Wes Montgomery's album came out, Echoes of Indiana, many years after he had passed away, and Carol was a huge influence to me, and they had acquired that music through Carol. I listened to that album on vacation one time for 6 days in a row, and didn't even have a guitar, left without a guitar, didn't even have one in my hands, and come back and did a gig that Saturday night, and everybody in the band was like, man, you're like really super jazzy tonight. And it's like I didn't even it was going somewhere in my brain. I wasn't even aware of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I didn't even know where it was going to, I didn't even realize I was processing
absolutely,
it. Was probably
especially
absorbing it while I was sleeping.
Yeah, I find that I write something, I'm listening to something I like, and I come and sit down with a piano or a guitar and kind of ape the best I can that sound, but it's not something that I would have... I was thinking about this today. That's not something I would have written had I not been exposing myself to that.
Sure.
So I was thinking about that before there was recorded music. One of the previous podcasts, or maybe all of them, we were talking about Bach and Mozart, and there was no recorded music then.
Right.
How did they subject themselves? I guess they had to go down to the local chamber orchestra pub and watch a quartet.
Hey man, can I borrow some of your arrangements? You know what I mean? Imagine how important that was back then. Like the Brits talk about how big it was to get a American blues album on vinyl in the 50s and 60s. Imagine what an actual arrangement was like in the 1400s or something. Dude, look what I've got. You know what I mean? That had to be. That was gold. Yeah, I mean, who were their peers? It's not like they were going out listening to, jam nights or anything like that.
You need a whole. Let's have a jam night. We got a 110-person orchestra. They're gonna jam. Yeah,
right. But musicians as a whole, artists as a whole, were treated differently in those societies. I mean, they were held up. They were propped up. It wasn't like the starving artist thing that we have.
You watch. I mean, huge. Mozart. He died at. Didn't live that long. Early 30s is when he died, but he had patrons. Wealthy patrons who would hire you to do pieces, and maybe you'd be doing commissioned pieces that you would never have done otherwise because maybe it's a sellout, so to speak. And there was a lot of that. I mean, you had to go from patron to patron. So, Michelangelo, I think the Sistine Chapel was one that he did not want to have to do. I know he did some stuff for Roman churches that he really did not want to do it, but he did it for the money.
Yeah.
So he sold out, so to speak.
It's like the Robert Johnson thing. They said Robert Johnson spent a lot of time playing pop songs and ragtime and stuff that he didn't want to play for money. So I guess that's as old as the hills.
I think it is, yeah.
It's always been that way. Yeah. I saw a great meme one time of Hendrix on stage with Wilson Pickett, and it says, "Don't feel bad." It said, "Cover bands don't feel bad." At one point or another, everybody has to play Mustang Sally. And it's Hendrix standing there with the Strat smiling.
That's a good one to end on. We got 20 minutes done?
Yeah, man, we're good.
What's our time?
23:12.
Okay. So
plus a little break for the
mishap. Yeah. Okay. So we'll see you next time.
Peace.